Welcome back. We have our friends from the World Bank back with us to talk a little bit more about the research project. And we're going to talk first to Tony. So, Tony, what do you hope this study accomplishes?
Thanks, Kate. What we hope this study will help us achieve is building the best possible programs for women entrepreneurs that we can possibly design. So make the trainings that business owners, and particularly female business owners in Ethiopia, but also in other parts of the world, take, making sure that these programs, have a real positive impact on how they go about their business, and at the end of the day, the kinds of profits that they see from their business. This is kind of the day-to-day work that Sri and I do at the Gender Innovation Lab. We work on different ways to support women entrepreneurs in different parts of the African continent. And by the way, this was a big impact of the previous study that Sri mentioned that we did in Mekelle a couple of years ago with you, which showed that the great business extension workers at DOT, if they have a program that is really promising, can deliver significant benefits for the entrepreneurs that take a training at DOT. And the insights that we got out of that first study have really gone on to influence the design of training programs in all over the world, and have gone on to influence the way that the World Bank and other big donors spend their money on business and on women's empowerment. And so this is why we're really excited about this new training program, and this is why we're hoping that you're excited to go along this way with us.
Wow. So, what comes out of this study actually has worldwide impact.
That's the hope.
It definitely can, yeah.
Terrific. Okay, so let's just picture you in the home for the first time. What is it you're going to tell participants about this study? So Sri, if you talk a little bit, we're going to talk a little bit about research integrity, and Sri's going to give you some pointers.
Right.
So what do you tell people?
I think by the time you get to the home, there would have been many steps before that where the participants may have been asking questions. So I think one message that I want to get across is when someone, does anybody need to know, like if the participants are taking your training, do they really need to know about the research? The answer is no, they don't. I think, the participants are taking a training. So in their view, they're obviously coming in, receiving scale up, you're giving them a home-based session, but at no point will you ever say to one person, oh, you're getting this, but your neighbor is getting this. So there's no point where the participants really need to know too much about the research. They might have questions. One thing to really keep in mind is that we've told you about this control group who's not going to be receiving training. One thing as an extension worker is if a control group participant in your list comes to the BDS center and says, oh, I'd like to take the training today, you'll have to see them in the list and say, sorry, but we really want to offer you the training, but there's no slots for this year, but we can offer you after the research study. So there is, it's not like we're telling them that they can never receive the training, but that's specific to the control group. So my whole, in conducting research, what you as an extension worker has to be aware of is the participant doesn't really need to know much. If they do have specific questions, a lot of them will be answered ahead of the time in the health assessment. By the time you get to the home, you're just training them on a training program that they know is what they're receiving. So I don't spend too much time thinking about what you should be telling them. Follow the curriculum and you'll be fine.
So part of that is about preserving the integrity of the study, right? So that you're not highlighting that people are part of a group or not.
Exactly.
So I also want to talk a little bit more on the research integrity. So we had talked about consistent experiences.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
So when we say consistent experiences, what we're really saying is that when you walk into the home, you might have your person is receiving the training with their partner. We just want you to go in and have them both be trained together. And that's the communication that you'd be giving them. But what happens if you're training a person by themselves, a women entrepreneur by themselves? In that experience too, the same thing, you're sitting down, giving them the script and training them. Let's give you an example of what might go wrong. So let's say you're training a woman entrepreneur and in walks her husband and say, oh, that looks interesting. I'd like to be trained here too. So, then you're suddenly in a, they're supposed to be trained by themselves. What do you do in that instance? Well, you have some information where you say, well, we're trying to train, here is some information about what we're doing, what we're training. We're here training your wife. Give them information and say, we'd like some privacy when we train. Please respect that. And there are going to be two people in the house. You're going to be an extension worker plus an intern, so there are going to be two people to kind of manage the household, hopefully. We can't really, there might be 10 kids running around, but that's something that we're going to have to navigate. But essentially following, if they're assigned to a specific group, following that specific group is the most important thing for you.
Okay, so yeah, none of us really know what's going to happen. So we're trying to build in as much as we possibly can to make sure that the practices are consistent so that apples can be compared to apples, essentially, for the data. Okay. There's one other thing that we talked about that I think is quite interesting. So we're talking about a pretty rapid pace of change, like changes in relationship, changes in thinking, and all of this seems to be happening in a 3-month time window, which seems pretty fast, but I know there's more to it than that. So can you talk a little bit about that? So,
maybe Tony can add to this, but I guess we both have been part of the design of this curriculum, and Kate has led the way. And what we think, it was the three of us who designed it, so we're pretty excited about how this is going to really have impact. And the reason why is because, it's not just scale up plus free home sessions. What we've tried to do is incorporate these things called communication sessions within the training. And what we're really trying to do is build a skill. So, we're in the session, we're taught about how the skill is going to be important, but what we really want them to do is take away that skill and apply it to everyday setting. So the real change is going to happen with them on an everyday basis, using that skill in their business and with their partner, to be able to make a change. And that's how we've designed the curriculum, to incorporate this to a skill they can use every day, as opposed to just something that they learn in the session. I think DOT has that. You've kind of led that way in all the trainings that you do. You don't want them just to use the training and learn nothing. You want to take that skill and be able to practice it. And that's how we've designed the curriculum.
And so some of that practice happens in the homework, right?
Right, yeah. So the homework is very important, like them, being aware that you can't just learn it and just leave it. You have to actually take away the homework, be serious about it. And it's all going to feed into the modules of the Scale Up. And that's how, the sessions have been designed. There's some gap in between them. There are some coaching sessions. So it's been integrated into the Scale Up programming so that it can all come together as a program in itself.
Terrific. So that's a little bit more about the research project. You should feel pretty comfortable about what you know and what you're going to be doing. There's a lot more information to come as you go through this training of trainers. Tony and Sri, is there anything else that we have left out that we need to communicate right now?
I just want to say thank you to everybody at DOT, all the extension workers. You do a great job in training women and men as entrepreneurs, and I think we really respect the work that you do. So thank you.
Yeah, and adding to that, thanks for me also. But as Sri said earlier, this is a continuation of a previous study with you, and there's a good reason why we came back to DOT, and that's because we know that you're a partner that we can rely on, and you have the skills to really deliver this new training. So we hope that you have fun, and we hope to hear about the things that you've learned in the process. Thank you.
Terrific. So that's it with our World Bank friends, and we'll move on. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.